So we were talking about stuff when you were growing up. I think the last question I asked you was, what did your brothers think of Jack?
They liked him because Jack was funny, and he was a member of the group, and he would come in from Huntsville, from college, and on the weekend, and he would stay with us. Daddy had this back bedroom that it was just beds that all the boys slept in. And he was just a member of the group. And we would, every Sunday night, we would either go to the upstairs over the youth department, or we would go to somebody's house and we would dance and have snacks and stuff. But Mama was always good about having the kids over, and we would roll the carpet back. She didn't have carpet then, it was rugs. Roll the rug back and dance to those 45 records. And Glenn would always buy me the new records he kept me supplied with whatever was new. Mom and Daddy couldn't.
Where'd you get the record player?
Glenn. And it was, you had to change every record. It wasn't, you couldn't stack them or anything. And set the record player on the floor, and somebody was always ready to put the new record on. And Mom would roll back the rug. And Mama was, she liked us coming over. She liked to dance, and she liked the music, and she liked parties. And Dacha was, all he cared about was had a meal on the table, He didn't care, really what we did as long as we were not tearing up anything. And it was good. I had a good teenage growing up. Because Mama went to church, Daddy didn't. But that's where all my activity came from, was church.
Yeah, I've talked to you about this before, about like your high school reunions and stuff, and you didn't care anything about your high school friends. You always talk about your church friends and neighborhood friends.
And, we were always doing something, and we always had chaperones, at the church.
What was his name?
Chaperone Nestle, Mr. Nestle. He was 105 years old from the day we met. He was a nice old guy, and he was there all the time. He never missed anything. And he wasn't ugly or fussing at us or anything. He was just there. So we knew we couldn't do anything that he didn't approve of. I don't remember him ever fussing at us. But it was just the fact that Mr. Nestle was always there. And he came to every...
Well, that makes it safe.
Yeah.
For the kids and the parents.
He came to every activity we had by himself. And, he'd just sit there and watch us. And he never fussed at us for jitterbugging or, anything like that in the church. Because we knew Mr. Nestle was watching.
Well, and in a lot of other situations, jitterbugging could get fussed at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when there was a girl, her name was Annette, and she was blonde and pretty and could jitterbug and dance, and she could dirty dance too. And she was the wild one of the bunch. She never did anything bad. She was just, we would stand back and watch her. You know? She'd do the, what was that called? Where they go down.
The swimmer, the diver.
Something like that. Yeah. She could do all that. She was.
You hold your nose and.
Yeah. And she was always there. We always had a good MYF, Methodist Youth Fellowship group. And Mr. Nestle was always, no matter where we went, we would go to different houses on Sunday evening. And like sometimes we'd go to my house. Mom would roll the rug back up in the living room and always have, you know, stuff to eat and drink. You know, it was good, clean fun. And we never wanted anything different because we had so much fun with what we were doing. And we had a large group of teenagers, MYF, Methodist Youth Fellowship. And it was, I'm glad, I wish Jenna and Belinda had that, but they didn't have that anymore by the time they were that age. Or they didn't like going. Well, they were in different schools and didn't know, you know, back then, when I was that age, we were all in the same school and in the same neighborhood and same church. But by the time it was Belinda and Jana's time, we lived way out here in Aldine and went to church over here in the Heights. So, you know, there was a different group of the kids with the different schools. Yep. Scattered everywhere. So it wasn't like a neighborhood. I guess it was, well, I graduated in 56, so it was probably 53 on up that we did all the dancing and partying. And everybody, all the parents, you know, we would take turns going to different houses. And it was somebody's turn each Sunday to have refreshments. And it was just a good, clean, and we looked forward to it. We'd rather go there than anywhere else. But then it just all kind of, by the time Belinda got old enough to do that, they didn't have it anymore. Or we lived.
Y'all moved.
Yeah, and we lived, you know, Houston was so spread out by then, and people were coming from all directions. And it wasn't the close.
Where was Belinda born?
Huntsville. Derek, too.
They were both born in Huntsville?
Mm-hmm. And we moved soon after.
So you had moved away from all that.
Yeah.
After y'all got married.
Yeah, well, Jack was in college.
Sam Houston.
Mm-hmm. And he stayed and got his master's because I was pregnant with Derek. So Derek was born in Huntsville too. And Jan was born in El Campo.
Nope.
No? Where was she born? She wasn't born in Huntsville, was she?
Nope.
Glen, Florida.
Close, but no.
Where?
Where did y'all live when Belinda was 6 or 7 and Derek was 4 or 5? Okay.
Leonard. That was Jack's first.
But that's not where she was born. Where was the hospital?
Greenville.
There you go.
She was Jack taught in Leonard, which was somewhere. Greenville was the closest big city.
That's where the hospital was.
Yeah. Those were good times. I enjoyed those times. We lived in somebody's old farmhouse on acres of land, and they had cattle running.
In Leonard?
Yeah, yeah, Leonard. No, this was Greenville. I get mixed up. Leonard is close to El Campo, I think.
Well, up there where Jana was born. Near Greenville.
Yeah. Yeah, she was born in Greenville. He was teaching school then. And we lived out in the country. You know, somebody's old farmhouse. Big old house. It had like 4 bedrooms. Cold, because it was built up off the ground. You know, you could, cats and dogs would go under the house
And the cold air could get up under the house.
Yeah, and Belinda and Derek would crawl under the house too. I remember one time there was a pond pretty far from the house. The house had a picket fence around it, just neat looking. And one day I looked out and I couldn't see Belinda or Derek. And Derek was maybe 3 and Belinda 5. So I went looking, and sure enough, they were down by the pond. And I caught me a switch on the way down there. And we had Pepper, the dog. And he knew when I was walking down to the pond, calling Belinda and Derek. He got in front of me, in between the kids and me, so I couldn't whip him all the way back to the house. He was a good old dog.
They were in the pond?
No, they weren't in it, but they had gone down to it, which was very dangerous, you know. There was fish in it. They could have, you know, if they'd fallen in.
Wasn't there a story about somebody falling in the pond one time?
I don't remember. But I know they knew they weren't supposed to go down there. Because there were cattle in between the house. We had a fence around the house that kept the cattle out of our yard. But the cattle, you know, big old bulls and dangerous. And Belinda we had pear trees in the yard, and she'd pick the pears and hold them up to the cows, and they would take them out of her hand. I looked out the window one day, and this little bitty hand with a pear, and this humongous bull on the other side of the fence was taking the pears out of her hand. And
She's always been like that with animals.
God, my heart just scared me to death. But she wasn't the least bit scared. And she, you know, would go out there with the cattle, be in the middle of the cattle. And I'd fuss and I'd get a switch and get you stay in the yard. She didn't mind that. I was always having to look for her because she loved the animals. And she'd go out there and pet those big old bulls and cows. You know, they were 4 times her size. And then she'd walk down to the pond with them. And she was not supposed to go down there. She wasn't supposed to get out of the fence. But she did. She was always...
She's always had a way with animals.
She loved. And none of them ever hurt her. They was always real glad to see her. We had pear trees in the yard, and she'd pick them. She'd crawl the fence to get to the pears and pick the pears and hold them like this, and a big old tongue would come out. I looked out the window and oh my God, the tongue was as long as Belinda's arm. She thoroughly enjoyed it. And it scared the crap out of me, but then, you know, when Jack would get home, I'd tell him, and he was proud of her. Derek wasn't that daring. He was daring in other ways, but I guess by the time he was old enough to do that, we moved from the farm to the city, so he wasn't exposed to that kind of danger. He would get on his bicycle, on a tricycle, at Mama's house on Dorothy, and he'd go get on the tricycle and go down the driveway, and then down Dorothy Street, and then turn down 11th Street, and then go down Shepherd Street. And he'd do that just like that. And we'd miss him and we'd go looking for him, and I'd get a switch on the way.
How old was he?
3, maybe. You know, those
So he's been like this his whole life.
Yeah, those little feet just going, you know, on his tricycle. And he didn't know, you know, I'm right here in the neighborhood, you know. I didn't cross the street or anything. Mama would always get so nervous. Where are the kids? I don't see the kids. Where are the kids? That's her heart.
You do that.
Belinda and Derek did it. But Belinda was never afraid of anything. None of the cow, big, humongous bulls would come to the fence, and she'd climb up on the fence and have as many pairs as she could hold, and would hold them like this, and she'd be up on the 3rd bar of the fence and hold them for the big old bulls, and that big old tongue would come out and get that pair. My heart would just about flip over.
It was you that was afraid.
Yeah, Belinda wasn't. Derek either. Linda loved those animals. We had Peppers there too, German Shepherd, and he followed Belinda and Derek down to the pond one day, and I figured that's where they were because they were out of the fence. And I grabbed a switch and went down to the pond, and Pepper got between me and the kids. And I was so scared and so mad that they had done that I hit Pepper the switch first. Told him, get out of the way. And then I got the kids. They didn't go down there anymore. But it, you know, it was just an old pond for the cattle to drink out of. Probably snakes everywhere. Belinda loved it. Eric liked it too, but Belinda loved it. Jana wasn't even thought of then.
So they were probably 9 and 7, and Jana was 2 when y'all moved to Houston?
Yeah. Yeah, because Belinda and Derek were in school. Belinda started school in Louisiana, but we were just there a couple of months. And then we moved to Houston, and she went to Hidden Valley. She was first grade, and I guess Derek was kindergarten or something. I don't remember. Belinda was never scared of anything. She'd catch snakes and bugs.
That probably scared you a lot.
Yeah.
The fact that she wasn't scared of anything.
Yeah, and you know, the neighborhood was brand new, and so there were construction people all over the neighborhood. And I'd look out and couldn't find Belinda. And she'd be across the street, 3 doors down, talking to the construction people. And I'd get a switch. She knew she wasn't supposed to do that, and she'd do it anyway. I was just talking. I guess she's friendly now. I gotta go to the bathroom. If I can get up. 1, 2, 3, go.